If you're new here, my name is Naima, and I'm the founder of the Academy for Womanhood. And we're in the business of restoring real full power in women. And a video went up recently where I was canceling what was called the Black Sheep Leadership Series. And I shared my reason for canceling that, and it's so much deeper than what I shared. So this video is to get into the deeper mechanics. I was listening to 19 Keys last night, and he was saying something along the lines of Black people don't want it. Black people don't want it. Now, 19 Keys very much talks about much more structure and order and higher level ways of thinking and being for Black people, fundamentally. And so he's talking about it very much from a systemic approach, from what results we produce here in the 3D for higher qualities of intelligence, thinking, being, and that's fantastic, right? That's great for the general intent of it, right? Because I don't know him, I've never spoken with him, so I can imagine what he is meaning by what he says. And he has been talking this way in different ways every time I've listened to him speak, because I don't listen to him steadily. I'll listen to him like maybe once a month. I'll come across something of his. And the tone, though, the undercurrent of what he's saying all the time lives in the domain of we don't want it, we don't want it, we don't want it, talking about Black people. And he does talk about power. He did say, we want money, we don't want power. That's what I remember distinctly him saying that yesterday. We want money, we don't want power, right? And through a masculine mind, okay, this is what I want to bring forward to us today here, that also existed in like the 3D on top of what the Black Sheep Leadership series was about, and what makes it for me, right? Because for many people it's like fantastic, wonderful, thank you. And for me as the being who's in it, what made it so uninteresting for me. So, and I'm going to connect the two and speak to, in this video, real power. And you need to know what real power is, so that you can be clear about what power each leader is referring to when they say power. Because when I hear men talk about power, especially Black men, what they mean is how much authority or control we can create on the 3D by way of our own banks, our own scholars, our own legislation, rules, just how we govern ourselves individually and as a collective, right? When you hear it through the masculine mind, it's very much about that. How much control, how much structure and order we can create in the 3D that's progressive for the collective, which is great. And still, it is not inclusive of the erotic feminine. Why does this matter? And what does this have to do with real power? Now, if we were to pluck out what most people might consider a good, wholesome, model-worthy Black family in the United States today, right? They exist, right? These are your Black husbands and wives who are married with children in the suburbs, and perhaps the average Black person, or most Black people, or most people would look at them as success, right? And what metrics are we using to even quantify that as success, right? It's the societal norm. It's what we know to be the way to a healthy nation, which is a family, whether it's a Black family or any other family. It's a healthy, whole, together family that sustains and operates according to the general rules, right? And when I say general, I mean, because all families have their own rules, but there are rules baked into modern day traditional marriage, right? There's rules baked into that. And there are social norms baked into humans universally, right? So when I say generally, that's what I mean. I mean by the basic general things that most people would lean toward being the right way to be in marriage, the right way to be a good human. So that's the metric we would use to quantify that as good, is that it falls in line with what most people deem the right way to do it. Now, if that's the goal, to be in line good enough with what is considered good by most people and that we fit well, if that's the metric, fine. If the metric is this system allows us to produce this amount of money, this amount of wealth, this amount, these kind of children, this kind of life, and that is the chief goal, then obviously that is fantastic. Now, what we need to keep in mind is for most people, and again, we're going to bring this back to real power because I'm talking about full real power, not just enough power that allows us to build the wealth we want, not just the power that allows us to, have our own cities and whatever is our thing that we control. Because guess what? If that's all you want, it's all here. Like there's people here to show you plenty. There's plenty of healthy, whole Black families. 19 Keys seems to be available and willing to draw in money and work with people to create things that we can control for the Black collective. Like the readiness is there. And again, I hear him saying, I heard him say it last night, and he has said it without saying it. And the many times that I've seen him, let's say over the last year, is that we don't want it. And what power is he talking about? That's why it's like when Black people are watching him, first of all, what Black people are watching him, because I was watching him, right? What Black people are watching them. What does he mean by power? What do I mean by power? What do you mean by power? And what do you actually want? Okay? What do you actually want? So continuing, if you want to be in a good Black family, husband, wife, kids, and a nice, beautiful house in the suburbs, and that's your life. If you want to be a part of, doing a good job societally by the general metrics that I described earlier that make a good human, that make you a decent contributing human, it's all here. We have plenty of models. We have plenty of examples. What I know, working with women for so long, and many of you can look at your own life and the lives of people around you, is most people are not actually fulfilled inside of those systems. Most husbands, most wives are not happy inside of their generally good marriage. They're not happy in their big house, in their well-manicured suburban home. They're not fulfilled in that. And this is not just Black America. This is most humans. Now, we stay, when I say we, I'm not talking about me, I'm talking about the collective of humans. They stay for the reasons that they stay, right? We got kids, they can't afford to split up, they're afraid of being alone. I mean, those hard statistics are available, okay? So again, if you are just looking for what socially acceptable power gives you, if you are just looking to fit into the general goodness that being a good husband and a good wife gives you, being inside of the power that gives us just enough control to be able to have things that we own and we dictate, those things are great. And if that's enough for you, go for it. It is here, it's available. Nobody is stopping you. There's no enemy. There's, it's all here, it's all now. And what's not being talked about is the full erotic feminine power that lives in the world that influences all other worlds. So when I hear 19 Keys or anybody else talking about a high level conversation, just like I said, when you say power, we need to clearly define what kind of power are you talking about. When we talk about high level, we need to be clear about what is high level. Because when I talk about the power that lives in the one world that affects all other worlds, and if it calms or solves the question in your mortal mind about, do you mean source? Do you mean God? Do you mean whatever you want to make it mean? Okay? Because at the end of the day, it's not even about the word. You might give it one to calm down the monkey mind that constantly needs an answer and to put something inside of a structure for it to understand. But the one world, we know it. We can feel it. It has its own intelligence. It doesn't need your understanding or your language. It's going to continue to function, influencing all the other worlds, whether you call it 3D, 4D, 5D, planet, Jupiter, Mars, outer space, black holes, all the things that you want to call it, planet, star systems, all the things. There's the one world affecting all other worlds. Now, when we start talking about this kind of power, when I say this kind of power, I mean the world that affects all other worlds. We're talking about a whole other conversation, a whole other human, a whole other way of being and living. And this is the human, the power, the way of being that I am talking about when I say power. And this is the power that when 19 Keys says they don't want it, this is the power that they actually want. Not just the power that's going to put them inside of another marriage that they make it work, but doesn't allow them to be their full, whole selves. It is now time to graduate and expand the conversations outside of the societal good that's allowed, the societal power that's allowed. It's now time to graduate your version. When I say your, I mean anybody who's watching me right now who knows that their existing high-level conversation has limitations in it. And if that is all you want, that is fine. This is not about my side and my way is better. The one world that affects all worlds does not propagate this. Well, no, it's this. All that. It's when you come out here onto the mortal 3D world, in the world of good and bad and my way, your way, right and wrong, where all that shit get to making noise. And the one world that affects all other worlds, it is all. And most of us are so afraid of not being loved, not belonging, and all the people who live in the 3D world of good and bad and right and wrong, attacking them. And then even beyond that, because even that whole conversation and fear exists in a boring domain. Even beyond that, it's like the pain or the aloneness of your love not being received. When you drop down into the underworld that affects all other worlds, and so I speak this for myself, when you really get down into full real power, beyond the limiting power that allows us to have control over wealth, which is fine, control over real estate, control over water supply, food supply, planes and trains and automobiles and all the things, great, right? A limiting power. When you get down into the power that even influences that power, down into the power that, again, because it influences all other worlds, which includes this world where we want to have land and money, and you get down into that, you realize, first of all, you can create whatever you are called to create. That power is infinite and vast, and that really everybody, no matter from the worst of us to the best of us, what we really want is the deepest love, and to get to know all aspects of ourselves, or all aspects of the one world that's in us. And that so much of our grabbing to belong, to express, to control, to be in this is really an attempt to get all those selves met and to live themselves out. And most of us never go there because we can't take ourselves out of the control that would allow us to have the experience. So you see, I could go so much further into this, but this video was to begin to touch on this real power, to begin to invite you into this, to look at your current reality, especially if you already have all the things. Like, Will Smith said it. Jim Carrey said it. Jim Carrey said, I wish every human being could have all the money they want, everything that they think they want that's going to give them fame, control, power, wealth. Give it all to them so they could see that even that doesn't give them what they most want, which is to be in experience of all of themselves. And so much about you reject because you need to fit inside of this, as I said earlier, societally acceptable power, societally acceptable position of manhood, societally acceptable position of womanhood, societally acceptable position of what a mom is, what a older woman is, what a queen is. Like, even that, get out of it. Who cares? I mean, is that all you are? And then, Jim Carrey said that. And then Will Smith said, and this was one of his more recent pieces of content. I think I saw it maybe 8 months ago, while y'all busy clowning him because of the Jada thing and their whole relationship. They get to live multiple aspects of themselves in that relationship. You know how much of a blessing that is? No, some of y'all, no, you don't, because you're trying to fit inside of what you think in this very limiting frame of good and bad. And Jada's bad for that, and Will is bad for that. Not realizing that they have found in themselves to each other two people where they get to experience all the aspects of themselves that come from the one world that influences the other world, and still love each other. That is actual love. That is unconditional love. All of y'all Black love relationships, all of your healthy Black family relationship, girl, stop. If I gotta be this to keep us together, you gotta be that to keep us together. And if you do that, it's conditional. It's conditional. That's why I say, if that's all you want, please have at it. This is not about making you wrong or bad. It's just about look at what you actually get as far as your experience here on earth, what you most want, okay, which requires you being honest and going deeper than just what feels most comfortable and feels good, and then looking at the end of your life, and are you satisfied with what you've been doing, where you're going? Because as Will Smith said, he said, I bought everything money can buy. All the sex, all the women, all the real estate, all the power, all the fame, all the attention, plenty that y'all not going to even see. You're never going to see it. You're never going to know that he did it, that he experienced it, that all of it. And he said, I wish I could find that piece of content. Maybe I'll go look for it. Nothing, none of it. Not the most beautiful, wet pussy woman who calls you poppy and sucks your dick perfectly and makes you feel like a king. Not the most vast house, beautiful house in Abu Dhabi, Dubai, with oil under your damn pool. Not the hottest bitch to the most whatever the other chick is. Not from all. Give it to him. Oh, he said nothing. Not a person, not a house, not a thing, not a nothing. Nothing external to you is going to give you that deep fulfillment and power inside that every breathing human being wants. So yes, get your money, right? Because we want the money to pay for the things and give to the people we love and causes and movements that we care about. Yes. And how do we, this is a question that I'm creating right here. How do we, not only as humans, but as melanin dominant folks, be the beings that we need to be, the quality of beings that we need to be in relationship with ourselves, where we allow ourselves to start to experience more of ourselves so that we can be in relationship with others who are wanting to explore the multiple worlds and aspects of themselves, so that in our creation, in this real power, in our creation, creating subdivisions, home subdivisions, creating, other communities and environments and resources and systems that are sustainable and that are abundant, that it is in real power, because that's the true sustaining force. It's in real power, not in this grabby, I gotta be this or else that happens, because then it can always be knocked down by another aspect of the limitation on the plane of limitation. Let's take this beyond your current level of high level.